Good afternoon, all. We are in the middle of the 38th chapter of the Tanya, and from beginning with the 35th chapter, we've learned the greatness of when the Torah tells us to do it. That the whole purpose that is the whole purpose is hidden within the action-related mitzvahs. Because as we said, in order that the ultimate intent of God be expressed within the creation of the world, that it should be for Him a dwelling place in the lower realms, that in this physical world there should be a dwelling for God, a place, meaning that reveals the infinite light of God, that this comes specifically through action-related mitzvahs, or mitzvahs that are related to speech, that is considered like action, because we know speech is an action in itself. Because through this, it refined the life force of the vitalizing soul and the body that comes from Klippas Noiga, the intermediate area in physicality that can be used for holiness or the opposite, God forbid. And these can go up, ascend to holiness. And through the elevation of this type of physicality, Klippas Noiga, then it is automatically nullified the impure klippas that cannot be elevated in any way. And then it's not going to remain, and no trace of it will remain that will cover up over godliness. And the infinite light of God will shine in this world in a much greater level than all of the higher spiritual worlds. And now, as we go on, we're going to explain the greatness of the advantage of the intent of the mitzvahs. Meaning, when a Jew does a mitzvah, what is his intent while he is fulfilling the mitzvah? That through the mitzvah that he is performing, he becomes united with God, who is commanding him to do the mitzvah. And because of this, this is why he's doing the mitzvah in the first place. That we find, on the other hand, an advantage even just with the intent. Even though that yesterday we spoke about how the person does not fulfill his obligation with the mitzvah unless he does it. He could have all the intent he wants, but if he doesn't do it in actuality, then he doesn't get credit for it. But now we're explaining that yes, there is an advantage within the intent of mitzvahs. That even though we said all this, that a person does not fulfill his obligation unless he actually does the mitzvah, our sages say that in any kind of prayer or a blessing that a person says, if a person says them without intent, it is as if it is like a body without a soul. So why are we comparing prayer or a bracha to a body and the intent to a soul? Pirush, just like everything in this world has a body and soul, that this is as the verse says, the soul of every living thing and the spirit of all person's flesh. V'nishmas kol asher ruach Chaim Ba'apav. And the soul, that the entire spirit of life is within his nostrils. Mikol Ba'alei Chaim, for every single creation in the world, it has a body and a soul. And God is constantly giving them life at every single moment, from utter aught and nothingness to the state that they are in as being something that exists. This is happening all the time from the light and the life force that God gives over to them within into the body and the soul. Shegam agufa chomri, that even the physical body, and not only the body, rather afilu avanim be'avar adeimim mamish, even the rocks and dust that are literally lifeless, that in them it is even seen the quality of life that is within the plant kingdom, that it grows from small to big, that even in them that even in both of these things, that in a rock, for example, or a plant, we see that these things are being granted their sustenance, their existence from God. And in this, that it expresses the life force. How is this life force expressed in a rock? A rock is lifeless. How are we saying that there's life, that God is granting it? So the answer is that we see that it does not go back to its aught and utter nothingness as it was before it was a rock, before its creation, as the Alter Rebbe was going to explain in the next book of the Tanya, which we're not learning right now, that had the godly light not been constantly giving over life to creation, that the creation would return to be aught and utter nothingness as it was before it was created. And even the inanimate objects of the world, we can see that there is godly life force that is giving it life constantly. And in this, even more so, that there is within a body of a person, that nevertheless it's not equal, the relationship at all between the godly light. It's that even though that there is life within the body itself, it's not at all comparable to the light that is within the person's soul. Afal pichein ein erech v'dimyon klal bein bechinas or v'chayis hameir ba'guf l'gabi bechinas or v'chayis hameir b'neshama. That we see that everything is living, a person's body is a living thing, but nevertheless there is no comparison at all to that light that we see within a person's body to the light and the life force that shines in a person's soul. Shehi nefesh kol chai, which is the soul of every living thing.